So picture this. It's 10 p.m. You just finished a really heavy dinner and your eyes are definitely starting to droop.
Oh, yeah, we have all been there.
Right. And there is just this massive pile of dirty plates and pots sitting right in the kitchen sink. And meanwhile, from the next room, the sofa is like practically whispering your name.
It is the ultimate mundane daily scenario.
Exactly. But the choice that you make in this exact moment, I mean, that internal battle between scrubbing that frying pan or just collapsing onto the cushions, it actually holds the secret to how we master complex new skills.
Yeah, and not just skills, but like how we manage our life savings and how we literally rewire our brain's neural pathways.
Which brings us to the really fascinating stack of material we are taking a deep dive into today, because on the surface, what we've been analyzing looks incredibly rudimentary.
Right. It is literally a collection of transcripts originally designed for beginner and intermediate English language learners.
Yeah, so we are talking about lessons on, daily routines, going to a restaurant, really basic vocabulary. But our mission here today is to look past the grammar.
Because when you strip away the linguistic instruction, what remains is honestly an absolute masterclass in human behavior.
It really is. It's all about habit formation and systems thinking.
So think about it. I mean, trying to teach an adult a completely new language from scratch requires bypassing all their ingrained anxieties.
Oh, for sure. The cognitive roadblocks are massive.
Right, so the material actually has to be engineered to overcome human resistance. And the core philosophy embedded in these texts is that sustainable success relies on building these incredibly simple, almost friction-proof systems.
Instead of relying on raw motivation, right? Because let's face it, motivation is a totally finite resource. It depletes.
Exactly. Systems carry you when the motivation is gone.
So let's start with probably the most inevitable hurdle in any system, which is fatigue.
Oh, the ultimate enemy of the daily routine.
Right. Every day is built on routines, commuting, working, getting out of bed. But the true test of any routine is what happens when fatigue inevitably sets in. And the material tackles this with a mantra that sounds a bit aggressive at first, but is actually quite brilliant.
Yeah, the phrase is, don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done.
Don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done. I love that.
It is so powerful because the distinction there is vital. I mean, tired is just a biological suggestion, whereas done is an objective state.
A biological suggestion. That's a great way to put it.
Well, our brains are wired to prioritize immediate comfort, right? It's an evolutionary leftover from when resting literally meant survival.
So when you begin a task, say, setting out for a planned 30-minute walk, the first 5 or 10 minutes are pretty easy.
Yeah, your prefrontal cortex is in charge, feeling really good about this healthy choice you made.
But then right around the 15-minute mark, your legs start to burn, you are sweating, and suddenly you spot a park bench.
And that bench becomes a siren song.
Oh, totally. You just want to sit down.
Right, because your limbic system kicks in and registers the physical exertion as a threat to your energy reserves. It just floods you with the feeling of being tired.
So if you surrender to that signal, if you stop at 15 minutes, you have prioritized comfort, but you ultimately associate that whole routine with failure.
Exactly. But pushing through, even if you have to drop your pace to an absolute crawl, it completely changes the psychological outcome.
Because hitting that objective 30-minute mark, actually achieving done, it transforms that park bench from a symbol of defeat into, like, a hard-earned prize.
You are literally changing the neurological reward. And we see this exact same mechanism in your opening example with the dirty kitchen.
Oh, right, the after-dinner slump.
Yeah, after dinner, the brain offers you the absolute most dangerous concept in habit formation, which is the concept of tomorrow.
Tomorrow. It sounds so innocent, but it's a trap.
It's a phenomenon known as temporal discounting. We basically devalue the future consequence in favor of immediate gratification.
Because if you choose tomorrow, you are guaranteeing what the text so accurately calls a sad morning.
A sad morning, exactly.
Yeah, you wake up, you walk into the kitchen to make your coffee, and the previous night's failure is literally crusted onto a frying pan. Your day starts in a deficit.
Whereas, if you spend the 20 minutes to just wash those dishes while you're utterly exhausted, the feeling of collapsing onto the sofa shifts.
It goes from guilt to pride.
Right. It makes the sofa feel wonderful.
Okay, I have to push back on this a little bit, though. I mean, let's unpack this. Isn't this whole stop when you're done mentality just a fast track to burnout?
It's a valid question.
Right, because we are constantly told to listen to our bodies. If we treat ourselves like machines and push through exhaustion every single night, How do we balance that without totally crashing?
So that is the essential counter-argument, and the framework actually anticipates it perfectly.
Yeah.
The solution to avoiding burnout isn't to force yourself to execute an impossible task when your battery is at 2%.
Okay, so what is it?
The solution is shrinking the goal.
Oh, interesting. Shrink the target so you can actually still hit done.
Precisely. Say your goal is to read a dense 300-page book in a foreign language. If you are exhausted after 3 pages, the goal is simply too large for your current cognitive capacity.
It's just overwhelming.
Yeah, so you manipulate the system. You shrink the goal down to reading for just 10 minutes.
Because 10 minutes is a micro-commitment.
Exactly. It is achievable, regardless of your energy level. And when those 10 minutes are up, you have reached the objective state of done.
Which triggers that dopamine release, right? The one associated with completion.
You got it. It proves to your brain that consistency and the habit of finishing matter far more than duration. You're essentially training your brain to trust that you will complete what you start.
That makes a lot of sense. And that exact friction, the mental exhaustion that makes you want to quit walking or go to sleep with a dirty kitchen, it's the exact same cognitive friction that paralyzes us when we try to learn a complex new skill.
Oh, absolutely.
Shrinking the goal definitely helps, but when it comes to acquiring a new language specifically, the texts highlight this massive hidden source of exhaustion.
Right, the exhaustion of being a middleman in your own brain.
Yes. They introduce this as the no translation rule.
Because translating in your head is an incredibly expensive cognitive process. When someone speaks to you in a new language, you are engaging in this really slow 3-step mental lag.
It's agonizing. Walk us through those 3 steps.
So first, you hear the foreign word and you translate it back into your native language just to comprehend it. Second, you formulate your response in your native language. And third, you translate that response back into the foreign language so you can finally speak.
I mean, I have tried learning a language before, and this is exactly where I always hit a wall. Here is where it gets really interesting, because it's like using a middleman in a business deal.
That's a great analogy.
Right. Every time you translate, you pay a tax in speed and brain power. By the time I formulated my perfectly translated English reply, the person I was talking to had already moved on to a completely different topic.
You get left behind.
Totally. I was always a ghost in the conversation, just lingering a step behind.
Well, you were experiencing cognitive overload. Your working memory can only hold so much information at once. So to cut out that middleman, you have to build direct cognitive connections.
By officially cutting out the middleman and labeling the physical world directly, right?
Exactly. The method suggests starting with your immediate physical environment. You look at an object on your desk, say a pen, and you completely refuse to conceptualize it in your native language first.
You just look at the object and immediately attach the target language word to it.
Right, bypassing the translation layer entirely.
And it goes beyond just physical objects, too. Like, the texts advise connecting actions and visceral feelings directly to simple syntax.
Yeah, so if you feel a sudden burst of joy, you train your internal monologue to think, I am happy in the new language.
Or, as you lift a glass of water to your mouth, you think the words, I drink water, in real time with the actual physical movement.
Which creates what linguists and psychologists call an immersive cognitive environment. Or, as the text phrases it, an English mode.
English mode. It's basically the practice of narrating your own life out loud.
Exactly. Saying things like, I am making coffee now. I need a cup, right as you were doing it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you are all alone in your kitchen talking to the wall or recording a voice memo on your phone.
The whole objective is just to force the brain into the active production of language.
Active being the key word there.
Right. And they also emphasize this technique called shadowing, which I found fascinating.
Oh, shadowing is brilliant.
You basically listen to a native speaker and you repeat their words almost simultaneously, mimicking their rhythm, their intonation, the actual musicality of how they speak.
And the neuroscience behind this is just fascinating. It perfectly highlights the chasm between passive and active learning. I mean, you can passively listen to audiobooks while doing the laundry for years and never become fluent.
Because you aren't doing the physical work.
Right. Shadowing and narrating force your brain to build entirely new neural pathways. Furthermore, producing language is a physical biomechanical action.
It requires muscle memory.
Exactly. Your mouth, your tongue, your vocal cords, they all have muscles that need to develop the physical memory of these new phonetic sounds. You're essentially taking your motor cortex to the gym.
So once you cut out that cognitive middleman, you are moving faster and with way less friction.
Yeah.
But you still need raw materials to build with, right?
You need the building blocks.
Exactly. Which leads us to the concept of chunks. The texts argue pretty heavily against learning isolated pieces of information. And the way this framework applies to both language and personal finance is honestly eye-opening.
Well, the human brain really struggles to retain isolated data points. In language acquisition, memorizing single words from a vocabulary list, like the word point or the word mean, is highly inefficient.
Because they completely lack context.
Right. So the alternative is learning language in pre-assembled chunks. You learn the entire phrase, "That's a good point," or you know what I mean.
So what does this all mean for the listener then? Is a chunk basically just a mental shortcut, like having a pre-packed suitcase sitting in your closet for different types of trips?
A pre-packed suitcase, yes.
So you don't have to pull out all your clothes, check the weather, and pack your bags from scratch every single time you need to leave the house. The work is just already done.
That is a perfect analogy. Chunks drastically lower our cognitive load. And when we pivot this exact concept to financial management, the mechanics are identical.
Because managing money usually feels overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
There are just 1,000 tiny data points to track.
Exactly. But the framework suggests applying budgetary triage. You distill your entire financial life into two distinct chunks in a simple notebook: money in and money out.
Money in, money out. Keep it simple. And even within that money out chunk, they advise automating your decision-making by categorizing spending into needs versus wants.
Right. We all know the basics there. Rent and groceries versus a new video game, or 5 expensive artisanal coffees.
But it's really about financial automated routing. You are separating the budget into these chunks to completely eliminate decision fatigue in the heat of a consumer moment.
And they apply this exact same visual chunking to savings, too.
Oh, right, the piggy bank idea.
Yeah, because a vague goal of saving money is just too abstract for the brain to prioritize. So you chunk it down, you literally drop daily coins into a piggy bank. Or you create a dedicated jar. They use the example of a bicycle jar.
And you actually attach a physical picture of the bicycle right to the jar.
Exactly. It makes the financial choice so much easier.
Because you bypass the analytical part of the brain and you trigger an emotional commitment instead.
Spot on. When you are standing in a store and you're tempted to buy some expensive item you really don't need, the mental image of the bicycle kicks in automatically.
So you don't have to engage in an exhausting internal debate about, compound interest versus instant gratification.
So your pre-packed mental script does all the heavy lifting for you.
And we see these pre-packed scripts in social interactions too. Like when you walk into a restaurant, you aren't inventing syntax from scratch. You just pull out the restaurant suitcase. "I would like," or "the bill, please."
Right. Or if someone asks you to introduce yourself, you have a chunked script ready that hits your name, your job, your hobbies, your likes and dislikes.
You aren't scrambling for words. You are just deploying the appropriate chunk.
Exactly.
But there's a massive catch to all of this. Because whether you are trying to deploy a linguistic chunk, stick to a strict budget, or just muster the energy to maintain a new routine, there is a major barrier.
A huge one.
It is the paralyzing fear of getting it wrong. And the texts actually refer to this fear as the monster in the room.
The monster in the room. It's such an evocative phrase because perfectionism is essentially a form of cognitive cowardice.
People just freeze.
They do. They don't deploy the social script because they are terrified of poor grammar or mispronouncing a word or looking foolish in front of a native speaker. They let the fear of a minor error stop the action entirely.
And the reframe provided in the material for this is incredibly powerful. They argue that mistakes are not like red pens on a test. Mistakes are physical proof of bravery.
They are proof that you are actively trying.
Right. They are data points for your brain's algorithm to learn from.
And the ultimate baseline they establish here is communication, not perfection. The whole goal of language is just the transfer of an idea from one human mind to another.
If the other person understands your idea, you win.
Even if your verb conjugation is an absolute mess, you still win. The text makes a really radical assertion here. Fluency is something that happens after a prolonged period of making mistakes, never before.
Fluency comes after mistakes. I love that. And they tie this beautifully into how they teach the present perfect tense, which, is usually a total nightmare for learners.
Oh, really?
Words like just, already, and yet. as in I haven't eaten lunch yet, or understanding the difference between gone to and been to.
Right.
But they frame this not as a structural grammar test, but as the primary tool for conveying your actual life experience.
Yeah, when you say, I have been to Italy, you are bridging your past actions to your present reality. You're sharing a piece of your personal history.
The entire focus shifts away from structural accuracy, and it moves toward building human connection.
The tense itself literally becomes a vehicle for shared existence.
Okay, but wait, let me challenge this for a second. If we are redefining every single grammatical error and mispronunciation as an act of bravery, don't we run the risk of just building terrible habits?
That's a fair point.
Like, if I continually make the same structural error over and over and I just pat myself on the back for being brave, isn't that a problem? How do I ever actually achieve fluency?
So that is a critical distinction to make. In linguistics, there is a concept called the affective filter.
The affective filter.
Yes. When a learner feels shame, anxiety, or embarrassment, this filter goes up, and it completely blocks the brain from absorbing new language input.
Oh, wow. It literally shuts down the learning.
It does. So the goal isn't to ignore your mistakes. The goal is to remove the emotional penalty from them so that the affective filter stays down.
I see. So you acknowledge the error, but without the self-flagellation.
Precisely. When you catch yourself making an error, say, you realize you just translated a sentence in your head instead of thinking directly in the target language, you simply observe it.
You just think, oops, I used the middleman that time.
And you immediately move on. You keep yourself in the game. Because the brain is an incredible pattern recognition machine.
It really is.
If you are actively using these systems and you're fearless in your execution, the sheer volume of exposure and repetition will allow the brain to naturally self-correct over time.
The bad habits iron themselves out.
Exactly, but only if you are producing enough volume to give the brain the data it actually needs.
Right. It really does all come back to keeping yourself in the arena. I mean, to quickly recap for everyone listening, you have to shrink your targets so you hit done and maintain that psychological momentum rather than just giving up when the fatigue inevitably hits.
Absolutely.
And you have to aggressively cut out the cognitive middleman by engaging directly with the task, whether that is, labeling your kitchen appliances or narrating your commute.
Building those direct connections.
Right. You rely on those prepackaged mental suitcases, those chunks, to reduce your daily decision fatigue. And above all, you have to prioritize connection over perfection. Trade your perfectionism for action.
The systems themselves are strikingly simple. The complexity really lies in the consistency of application.
Yeah.
You are quite literally training the neuroplasticity of your mind, the muscle memory of your mouth, and the behavioral routines of your daily life through small, relentless, repeated actions.
It's amazing. And as we wrap up this deep dive into our source material, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to mull over on your own.
Oh, I'm ready for this.
Think back to that shadowing technique we discussed earlier in the context of language learning. The practice of listening to a speaker and mimicking their rhythm, their tone, and their word choice to acquire their skills.
Right.
Take that concept and apply it to your broader life. Who are the people around you that you are subconsciously shadowing right now?
That is a great question.
Whose financial habits, communication styles, and daily routines are you automatically mimicking without even realizing it? Because we are always shadowing someone. The real question is it time for you to consciously choose a new speaker to shadow?
That is a highly clarifying lens to view your social circle through.
It is amazing how a stack of beginner-level transcripts can hold up such an uncompromising mirror to our internal operating systems.
Sometimes the most profound life advice is hiding right in plain sight.
Disguised as the basics, exactly. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.